Hey, it's Ryan Speltz. Welcome back to another episode of the REConnect Podcast, where we dive into real estate professionals' purpose statements and how it applies to what they do. Today, we've got one of my very good friends and coworkers, Christina Klingman. She is a mortgage broker with me here at Greenlight Mortgage, and she says, I asked her to define her purpose in one sentence, and she says, "My purpose is to be a great mom, wife, friend, and the one who looks at your situation as a whole and helps guide you through probably one of the biggest financial decisions of your life and make sure we tailor it specifically to your needs." So there's a lot going on there. You're very specific and you're always that
Yeah.
way. And I appreciate it sometimes, and sometimes it drives me nuts. But I think we're going to have a little different dynamic here on this one. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. But tell me a little bit more about like where that concept came from when I asked the question of you, like how did you get to that statement?
Well, thanks, Ryan. The initial thought was, well, what am I? Who am I? And I'm a mom, so that would be my first purpose is to be a mom. Then I'm a wife, then I'm a housemaker, and so far and so far. And my ultimate goal is to be an amazing broker for my clients. So the ultimate purpose of me is to just be a better person overall for everybody that's important to me and all of my clients who are important to me.
I think we've talked about this many times, and I think a lot of what you do is add that extra little value piece of being a little bit more intentional with your clients and being more interactive with your clients than other people would be. It's not just an cost and fees for you. How do
Oh
you
no.
how do you get through, when people are coming to you and saying, I just want this rate, I just want this, like how do you get through that and really develop the relationship with them?
Well, I don't like to talk about rate because it doesn't matter what the rate is today, tomorrow, or yesterday. It matters when they're going to actually get an executed contract and they're moving forward with their purchase. But how I get to that point is I know the person, as a friend. I become their friend. And when we're all done, I tell them they can't get rid of me because I want to stay their friend. I want to stay in communication because I want them to be able to come back to me if there's any other problems that they have, any questions, any referrals, any type of mortgage problems, if they wanted to recast their mortgage or if they wanted to refinance and pay off some debts. I want to be their first thought. So I make that connection with them by being a person opposed to being a robot and just someone who's going to get the next deal in. I want to make sure I'm there for them and they know the entire way that I'll be there for them and afterwards.
And I think you are very genuine in that response, and that's actually who you are. Tell us a little bit about kind of how that was developed over time. I know you've got some different past history with working and different environments and all that stuff. How did you utilize what you've worked, the positions you've worked in to kind of help develop that to where you're at today?
Well, I've always been, how can I say, someone who helps people. I I was in the medical field for 8 years prior to becoming a mortgage broker. And what I did was I helped perform surgeries. So you would come in if you need a knee replacement or if a lot of people that had cancer, I helped them, reconstruct their body. If there was accidents, we did a lot of trauma. So I put things back together to make them work. So something's broken, I fix them. And then after that, it was just too much of not being home with my kids because, again, my purpose was my family and to be a mom. So I went and I did a more 9 to 5 type of thing. And I worked for a law firm doing personal injury, but I used my experience as being a surgical professional to help them with, I was doing case management for hernia mesh, people who had hernia mesh problems. So I was able to help them, get a settlement for people who may have had adhesions or difficulties from that. Then I moved into the mortgage world where I'm still helping people achieve something. I'm helping people become better at not life, but helping them to achieve the American dream, which is to be a homeowner. And I help guide them that way.
I think you do a very good job. Like I said, it's just your genuine personality is to connect there, and we've talked about that, probably at nausea for you because I make you focus on it all the time. But that's
Yes.
really what separates you from, somebody else at a big company that's just trying to get the next deal. And
Yeah.
that you may, and I've told you this with my career as well, that slower route, you may give up on a few deals or get a few deals taken from you from somebody that's talks faster or sounds more intelligent or sounds more direct or whatever it is, or just a better salesperson. But your relationships with the people that you actually work with are being
Last
developed
longer.
throughout. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and they last throughout, and you're able to really dive deeper with them. So going a little bit deeper there, how does you're at home, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a mortgage broker. How do you balance all that? How do you harmonize all of that?
Coffee.
It is.
I mean, it's tough. It's very tough. I am in a little bit of a different situation than most people that I see. I do have an autistic daughter, which you're aware of. So a lot of my time goes to therapies and different doctor's appointments. We're just trying to find the best route for her. She's 3, so she's delayed in a lot of things. So it's more of a guessing game than knowing exactly what she wants. So being that I'm just being able to be a stay-at-home mom and work from home and work with you, it's been really beneficial for me and my husband and my family to manage all these different tasks that we do need to do with her, because it is a really newer diagnosis. So we're still learning the process. And as you mentioned, I may not be as fast or as efficient as other mortgage brokers, but I'm not looking to quickly get your deal done. I'm looking to help you get your deal done. And when I'm done with you, not done with you, but when we're done and we close and you're happy, then I'm willing to go to the next, because I'm not just out here for the money. I'm out here for the relationship.
Yeah, and establishing that relationship during the transaction obviously is one of the ways that as professionals we need to do that. And then really, I think your strength comes in afterwards. Even during the process, you're extremely strong. You know what you're doing, and then afterwards, you're still interacting and just making sure that they're in the best situation. And I know you're kind of getting to that place of, now we're kind of a year removed from your first deals being closed and
Mm-hmm.
getting to that point. And so now you're going to start reaching back out to those people. And the best part about it is you've been reaching out to them the entire
Yeah,
time.
I was gonna say,
And
yeah, I talk to them every couple months, and actually my first deal ever, they just got married last month, so and I knew about it, so it's been a good ride so far. So yeah, I like to stay in contact with them. I have a client that I haven't even had a sale with, and we talk once a week, just because I gained that relationship with her, and it wasn't a sales transaction. It turned into a relationship. And she knows about my kids and she asks about my kids. We send Christmas cards, and that's the kind of person I am, and that's the kind of people I work with.
yeah, and I think you're doing a really good job of attracting those clients. I've noticed like we don't really have like working with you, we don't really have client issues. I mean, outside of the traditional, mortgage
Yeah.
related issues, we don't have the issues of someone, yelling at staff or, creating this environment that nobody wants to work with in a client. You do a really good job of just attracting the right people to you. And again,
Thank you.
like we said, that it takes a little bit extra to close enough deals or more deals. Because you are attraction based, you're not out searching out every client. That's not what you
Yeah.
do. You really focus on making sure that the client is a good fit as well. And, the ones that aren't, just go somewhere else, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing is even, I know that in a couple cases, you've developed that relationship to a point where they don't close with you and they end up closing with somebody else because of whatever issue. I think it's been twice with a builder, right?
Yeah.
And trying to get incentives and, builder stealing the business or whatever.
Yep.
And, you're still established with them. How do you maintain all of that in your daily work? I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty flowing process for you, but is there any do this, do that kind of things that you can help out with somebody listening?
It's more of just listening to the client. The one that I vaguely or actually really remember, who I recently lost to a builder, is I got to know her, and I know about her, and I know what she's been through. So that's the relationship that I've connected and I gained with her. So even though she didn't close with me and she ended up going with a builder, I still want to know how her life's going. She had a very rough time getting from, I believe she came from Seattle and then moved to Florida, and I want to make sure she's okay, because even though she didn't close with me, I still think she's my friend. So, and I gained that friendship with them. So it's not like a set schedule of, oh, I need to call them and remember what they did. It's more of memory. Ask me what I did yesterday. I don't know. But if you ask me about that client, I can tell you exactly what happened and why she ended up moving to Florida and from Seattle. So it's more of, I take them in and I appreciate them as people. And so what's the say? They make a mark on me. So they made a mark on me. So that's how I keep that connection, because I obviously made a mark on them or else they wouldn't answer.
Yeah, and it's, a lot of times in sales relationships, it becomes a piece of obligation, for the salesperson and for the person responding. And I don't think you have that in your business, and I
No.
think that's such a cool thing to recognize, is that you're building the strengths that should be built in a business like this, where it matters, right? You say it, it's one of the, you say probably one of the biggest financial decisions for 99.9% of the people we
Yeah.
work with. 100% this is the
Mm-hmm.
biggest financial decision. And so, if you can show them how maybe taking an eighth of a point, $12 a month difference on their mortgage, and structuring it a little bit different and showing them how to pay it off faster, or showing them how, 6 to 8 months from now we'll talk and maybe you can utilize some of that equity. You do a really good job of walking through that. And how are you developing those skills, as far as that piece of it? Is it something that when the deal comes in and they ask a question, you go find it, or are you seeking out answers beforehand so that you can help them through that?
A little bit of both, because when I first talk to them, I don't really have a sales talk. It's more of, again, getting to know them and connecting with them. And then I kind of ask the questions that pertain to maybe a VA or an FHA loan or a conventional. And then when it comes to it, I'm able to then tell them, all right, let's fill out the application. And while you're doing that, I on the side go and look up anything that I may not know based off of the conversation, because I want to be able to answer those questions after we figure out if they're qualified or pre-approved. Because talking to somebody on the phone, I can tell you, hey, Ryan, yeah, you're great, you're qualified, let's go ahead and get you a home loan. And then we do your application, run your credit, and then it's like, whoa, I just told him he can get a house and now he can't. So I don't want to give any expectations beforehand without knowing the full story.
Yeah, and that's a great way to go about it. Just setting the expectation of, I'm going to find the answer, right? So if there's something that's in there, you can go find it, and you're going to find it not because you're obligated to or you wanted the commission check. You're going to find it because it matters to the client and
Yeah.
matters to the buyer. It's something there's such a fine line there of recognizing that, and walking that line is extremely important. So I'm going to ask you the big question. And again, I did tell
Oh
you about
boy.
it beforehand. So, like I said, I've recognized that if I spring it on people, we just stare at each other for a little bit. So, um, if there was one global issue that you could work on or fix, or, start repairing, what would that global issue be?
Lack of knowledge.
Go
And
on.
what I mean by that is back to my daughter being autistic, because like I said, this is a new lifestyle for us. Nobody in my side of the family, my husband's side of the family, has ever had anybody with an autism disorder. So what I mean by lack of knowledge is she gets very overwhelmed in situations, especially in areas that she doesn't know if there's a big crowd of people. So she throws a temper tantrum, like most kids do. They cry, they scream, they kick, but hers is overstimulated. So when I get the stares from people, I wish they understood the reason on why she's acting that way. So the lack of knowledge of autism in itself, we're still researching. There's still so much research to be done, even with autism research in general. There's all different types of levels of autistic children. So even adults are autistic and they don't even know it sometimes, and they could be delayed or they could be diagnosed later in life. But it's the lack of knowledge of it, to where people shouldn't stare when they don't really know what's going on. Obviously, everybody wants to look. They see something screaming and crying, or a parent yelling, hey, be quiet, you're fine. They're going to look. But I wish there was a way to say, hey, it's not your business. It's not your place. Don't look, don't stare. It's rude. So I think if people respected that more, the world would be a little bit of a better place.
And I think that blankets across a lot, but obviously in your specific situation with the autism piece, that's what's going on in your life, especially, and being able to, focus on that is so huge, and really becomes the lack of willingness to understand, right? Because we
Yeah.
all jump into that judgment piece. And how do you see that carry into your mortgage business as well?
Look at it as you're a consumer and you want a mortgage, and you're calling either the referral that you were given, or you search online mortgage brokers and you find me and you call me and you're like, hey, Christina, what's your rate? Okay. Lack of knowledge, not because of the person didn't want to know, but lack of knowledge to where they're just going to rate shop. So what I mean by that is you don't know the full story. You don't know what comes into what your rate actually is. So if for sales perspective, if you're going to ask that question, I want to be able to explain what and why your rate is the way it is. But in order to do that, we have to dig deeper into you, your credit history, your income, your debt, you know, your credit report. And, we move forward into that, your work history. And that's what determines your rate. So if you're calling me to say, hey, what's your rate? I'm going to tell you, oh, 7. And then what? You're going to say, well, what does that mean? Okay, well, let me explain. Here's the knowledge behind why I'm telling you 7.
And I think that a lot of that comes from the noise in the marketplace. A lot of
Of
what we can
course.
find online is, get the best rate, right? Like we have that conversation, and what people aren't recognizing is there's different ways that there's value provided. It doesn't necessarily have to be the interest rate.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about where we're at is, we get to sell industry leading interest rates plus have the value of everything we've talked about here.
Yeah.
Um, but the other side with that is just, yes, that seek to understand. So if you were to give somebody one tip on that piece, and I know you went a little fired up there of like, stop staring, that's rude. If you could give one tip on that, and whether you relate it to mortgages or the autism piece, which I know is super important to you, or whether you relate it to just in general, what's would be step one to further their steps in that, and getting more to that understanding?
I think if they just want to know what the average rate is, I would tell them, if you don't want to move forward with the application and stuff, just go ahead and go Google current mortgage rates and put a sales price and what you make, and it'll give you what your average would possibly be based on the information you put. But I feel that if you want to go a little step further, contact a reputable mortgage company. Not me, you don't have to contact me. I'd love to help you, but contact anybody and, pick at their brain and ask them, because the ones who actually want to work with you are going to spend the time to get to know you and explain that to you.
Yeah, I think that's really where we got to hit on, is the differentiator becomes, if someone gives you a rate up front, it's completely inappropriate. It's
Yeah.
completely not what they should be
Not
doing.
true. Nothing of it is true. It's just telling you a number to get you in the door, because if I want you that bad, I'm going to tell you, hey, Ryan, I'm going to give you a 4%. Can you get a 4% right now? Yeah, you're going to pay for it, but I'm going to get you in the door by telling you that. And then when it comes to it, you're going to see what you're actually going to get, and it's going to be a complete lie. And I don't want to live knowing I lied to you to get my business.
Yeah, there's a large nobility piece there of making sure that we're operating the way that we should be, and you definitely live that. So, well, I appreciate you being on today, Christina. And
Welcome.
if people want to get in touch with you, where can they get in touch with you? How can they get in touch with you on social media or wherever?
So I'm kind of late to the game of social. I only have Instagram, so you can search me, Christina Klingman, or I believe my name is Tina Lens Loans. I'm also part of Ryan's team, so you can find us on his website,